महात्मा गांधी.
सत्य और अहिंसा का उनका संदेश आज भी प्रासंगिक है।
Every political party in India claims to honor his legacy and stand by his values. But which party truly does?
I do not think there is.
This is Gopalkrishna Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi's grandson.
He believed in humanism. He was against ahimsa virodhi himsak bhavana.
अगर आजाद देश में गांधी जी पैदा हुए होते तो वो क्या करते?
While we hail Gandhi as the father of the nation, we also live among those who hail Nathuram Godse, his assassin.
नाथूराम गौडसे देशभक्त थे, हैं और रहेंगे.
But what did Gandhi's family think of Godse? Why were they not in favor of death penalty for him?
The assassination itself was a matter of immense sorrow. It was not subject of political contention.
On Badi Badi Baatein, Mahatma Gandhi's grandson Gopalkrishna Gandhi's Gandhian take on present-day Hindutva, communal politics, the Congress Party and India's polity. So, welcome to the Quint and welcome to my show Badi Badi Baatein.
Thank you.
I would like to begin by showing you this picture where you are a very little boy. The significance of it comes from when and where it was taken. Can you tell the story behind this picture?
I can only tell it from what I've heard because I have no memory of it myself. I was just 2.5 years old. There is a rite of passage called Sanchayana, where the ashes of the cremated are collected by the family a day after or so of the cremation. And so on, I think the 1st of February 1948, after the cremation of Mahatma Gandhi was over, the family went to collect the ashes in the Sanchayana.
Yeah.
So I was just loitering around, playing with the sand on the riverbed of the Yamuna. And this photographer just captured that moment. I don't know what he found of interest in it, and I think I have been captured there in something which I have always been doing, which is playing around with the sands of time, meaninglessly.
There was something very interesting that I found right at the beginning of the book where you say that the name of Nathuram Godse, the man who assassinated Mahatma Gandhi, it wasn't taken very frequently in the family growing up. Nobody spoke much of him. Why so?
I think it has something to do with the influence of the man who had been assassinated, his influence in the family, not to be vengeful, not to be vindictive, not to think of somebody as wholly mistaken or evil. The fact of the assassination was very prominent in the family's mind, but not the assassin. And I am rather grateful for that. There was no bitterness in the family, there was revulsion at the act, but no bitterness about the man. To the extent that two uncles of mine were very keen that the death penalty should not be handed to the assassin.
Prime Minister Nehru at that time was not fully in favor of death penalty for Nathuram Godse. Did the family have this dilemma as well?
Gandhi himself was completely opposed to the death penalty. Nehru was opposed to the death penalty for most of his public life. Before he became Prime Minister, that was his position. And that was how we felt about it. But my father was editor of the newspaper. I don't believe he was against the death penalty. In any case, he did not editorialize on the subject. But the death penalty was just one aspect of it. The assassination itself was a matter of immense sorrow. It was not subject of political contention. We did not view the world in terms of those who were agitated by the assassination and those who sort of defended it. No, that was not how it was. It was a tragedy.
So when in today's day and age, when we see certain people celebrate the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi, around 20 pointing pistols at posters of Mahatma Gandhi, in today's day and age when such things happen, do they personally bother you?
Thankfully, no. I don't at all. It has never surprised me that there are some people who are not just defensive of the assassination, but who look upon it very differently. I've always been aware of that. I must also say this, that we were aware of the fact that around the time of the assassination, there was some violence which had been meted to certain communities associated with the assassin. And all of us were pretty revolted by that, because we knew that Gandhi would have been revolted by it.
There's a very interesting statement by your brother Rajmohanji's wife that you've mentioned in the book, and I quote, that Mahatma Gandhi has lost all relevance for India's urban electorate. Do you agree with this statement?
See, there is something called the moment, and the moment is very transitory. And then there is something called the longer influence. And the one person who would have no issues about not dominating the moment is Gandhi himself. He would like India to address its agonies and embrace its triumphs without reference to him. He would say, I think, I'm imagining, and I'm probably presuming, that I have done my bit, now let me be. You handle the moment. You handle the relevance of the times by your own vivek and buddhi.
You have spoken at length about the Ram Mandir movement and the politics that you have seen over the years on the Ram Mandir movement. If Mahatma Gandhi was alive today, how do you think he would perceive a movement like the Ram Mandir movement?
Well, first of all, he would be 150 plus.
Yeah.
So that's it, if he were alive today. That apart, I think he would see any movement, not just the one that you mentioned. He would just see any movement by its intention, but more by the means adopted. For him, means were much more important than ends. And he could call off something if he felt the means were slipping out of his hands. He would say, mind the means, the ends will look after themselves.
Do you think he would have disagreed to the means with which the Ram Mandir movement was conducted over the years? Say the demolition of the masjid, the opening of the locks, etc., etc., the violence, the riots that took place later.
I would say it doesn't matter whether he would have disapproved. What is important is how do we look upon the violence of such a position? How do we today look upon a prospect of violence, something which is likely to inflame emotions and feelings and lead to violence? How do we perceive it? Gandhi would have said what he would have said. But I think it's far more important that we ask ourselves, are what we doing, are what we thinking, helping to heal wounds or causing wounds to go deeper? But I'm aware of this essential truth that in our society today, hatred, suspicion, and violence have a certain play which is dangerous.
Do you think it's politically propagated, this mindset?
I would say the possibility of it spiraling is very high, and those who speak against it, their decibel levels are much lower than those who let it grow. That is what is of concern. And it's not Hindu male, Muslim male, it is just the violent male. Fortunately, that violent male is not so numerous, but he is very active. We must know this, whether it's against women or against Dalits.
Do you think the politics which heavily relies on the idea of Hindutva, there are times that politics gets redefined as politics of hate against minorities, specifically Muslims. Do you think with time India misses a figure like Gandhi, who stood for a far more inclusive idea of Hinduism?
He believed in humanism. I don't think he wanted to humanize Hinduism or made Hinduism inclusive. He wanted India and Indians to be more human. He knew the extraordinary defects of every community, including his own, which was Hindu. He was a very devoted and pious Hindu, but he saw Hinduism as a human being. He had very strong things to say against Christian and Islamic social customs also. So he was not just against what may be called Hindutva. I think he was against what should be called ahimsa virodhi himsak bhavanaएं in all communities. Ahimsa virodhi himsak bhavanaएं.
You have seen the Congress party very closely over the years. How do you perceive the present day Congress? Because there is a general sense that it is failing as an opposition party in this country to be able to counter the ideology of the BJP. How do you perceive the Congress as it is today?
I see your point. I don't think the Congress is in its best health today. But is what is happening to the Congress something to do with the Congress, or is it something to do with us as a society? That is, I think, the more important question. It's not Congress's problem alone. There are people there with tremendous guts, with tremendous integrity. It's very difficult now to find a person in any party who has all of these: integrity, intelligence, courage, lack of ego, and love of India. It's very fine to say the Congress is not setting a great example. True. But who is? So where does that lead us? Does it mean that it's all over? Certainly not. Certainly not. And that is where I would like to take your question forward one step. The fact that you are asking this question is our biggest hope, because most young people are asking this question. My fear is that the young people should not give up on politics and on political parties as such because their example is depressing. They should not. I look forward to a time, not in my lifetime, but perhaps a little later, when a new generation will not say no to politics, but yes to new politics and take India forward. Is exactly what happened about 120, 130 years ago.
How do you consume your news today? Do you consume it via newspapers? Do you consume it on your phone? Or do you watch TV news?
It's multi-mode. What is very difficult now to find is silence. You have so many options. When you end the day, when you are charging your machines, how many machines you are charging with so many wires, you don't have enough plugs. You don't have 3-point plugs, 2-point plugs.
Despite so many mediums of consumption of news, there is this constant accusation that the media has become more stifled than before. Do you think it is fair to draw these parallels of how the media functioned during the emergency and how the media is functioning today?
There is one word which applies to not just media, but to politics and public life in India, and that is manipulation. Manipulation is now a hydra-headed monster. It can be done in many ways. It can be done through money, it can be done through just intimidation, it can be done through just cunning. Media can get manipulated in many, many ways. But I must also say that today's Indian media scene has many examples of complete independence, people speaking their minds very freely and perhaps not without fear, but freely with some element of fear which they are overcoming, possible. But I do see in media, all kinds of media, particularly social media, clear signs of that flame of press freedom remaining very strong. In British days, when they banned the newspaper printing, they came in cycle-style version. And Mahadev Desai said on the mast, I change but I do not die. So media will change. Media's freedom may change. it will not die.
You have taken a lot of cinematic liberties through your book. You have mentioned your love for Mughal-e-Azam. Do Bigha Zameen have really impacted you when you watched them. And then you went on to say how films like these in that era really shaped the way people thought, really shaped the way people took interpersonal relationships, interreligious relationships, etc. To what extent do you think this argument is fair, that cinema really influences the way people think and really reshapes the ideologies of masses?
The power of the moving image is not to be questioned. There is no doubt that it is monarch of opinion making, and especially among the young. Among the young, it is absolute monarch. There is no getting away from it. So a huge responsibility lies on those who make films and distribute them. And this is where I would say the depiction of violence, even when shown as something evil, which is very dangerous, depicting anything from contemporary life or from historical lore can inflame passions. And so a censor board has a huge responsibility in this matter. It must show its ability to see the possibility of social and communal violence through an indirect depiction, something which is subtle, which shows something which doesn't immediately look like dangerous, but is likely to be dangerous, has to be taken into account. Playing with the minds of people is a huge responsibility.
You have mentioned how in 2014 when Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister, you wrote him an open letter via one of the newspapers, and you said he might keep Savarkar in his heart all he wants, but his mind must that be of Ambedkar. But you forgot to tell him that his soul must be that of Gandhi. He has invoked Gandhi a lot many times in his speeches, in his political narratives, in the party's line of ideology, etc. Do you think that there is a particular party today, or for example the BJP, do you think they represent what Gandhi stood for?
Do you think that question should be asked of me or of them?
Do you think there is any party today that has truly taken forward Mahatma Gandhi's legacy?
I do not think there is, but I do not bemoan that there is not. For the reason, as I said earlier, that the future of India is much more important than the future of Gandhi in India. And Gandhi will be the first person to say so. He has done what he has, and I think it is up to us now to not lean on him or ask what he would have done, but to ask ourselves what we should do.
So thank you so much for speaking to us, and thank you so much for giving your time on Badi Badi Baatein. It was an honor to speak to you, and thank you so much for giving your time.
I am to do the thanking. Thank you very much, Ishwar.
Thank you, sir.